The Malo situation has genuinely gotten out of hand, like vexaay, the #1 sword PvPer, just casually dropped a banger on a Sunday afternoon and cooked Malo. But before I get into that, make sure you join my Discord linked in the description, which is only limited to unemployed and or single people. So if you guys have been following the Marlow situation at all, and I know that you have because you're a loser, you know that she recently dropped this massive nearly 4-hour response video addressing all the cheating allegations and the identity stuff and basically everything that's been thrown at her. And a lot of people watched it and came away feeling like, okay, she made some good points, maybe she's telling the truth. But then vexaay dropped his response video, and dude, he describes the video as containing some of the most misrepresented information that a toddler would be able to see through. And not gonna lie, after watching his breakdown, it's really hard to disagree with that. Because he doesn't just say she's wrong, he goes through her claims one by one and shows exactly where each one falls apart. So let me start with the biggest thing, which is the whole Mindman Club situation, because this is where everything actually starts. So for context, vexaay challenged Malo to a duel and specifically insisted it had to happen on Mindman Club instead of any other server. And Malo's video kind of presented this like it was a weird or unreasonable demand. But vexaay explains exactly why he chose that server, and honestly when you hear the reason, it's so obvious. He says, look, if you own the server or have soft access on the server, it's significantly easier to cheat on it. And Malo had console access on basically every single server she had ever competed on. And not gonna lie, Dr. Donut had literally said on stream that Malo had basically owned the monopoly of all these servers and had a finger in every single pie. Pause. Wait, Malo, can you put your finger in my pie too? So choosing Mindman Club, a neutral server where she had no backend access and no anti-cheat influence, was literally just the logical requirement for any legitimate duel. Like, that's not a weird demand. But dude, then that's the 3-hour mod installation situation, and this is where things get actually crazy. So Malo's video presented the lengthy setup process as a genuine technical difficulty. She needed to update her version, reinstall mods, ran into issues, needed help. And not gonna lie, if you just heard that on its own, it might sound kind of believable, but vexaay dismantles it completely. And here's the thing, the fight had been planned days in advance. Like, this wasn't a last minute arrangement. She had days to prepare, and the mod updating didn't even start until the day of the fight. After over an hour had already passed just to install plain vanilla Minecraft with absolutely no mods at all. And dude, vexaay makes such a good point here because Malo is supposedly the best MCTiers player in the world. And she literally created the Crystal Optimizer mod. Like, she has active hands-on knowledge of Minecraft modding, and vexaay just also like, despite being the supposed best MCTiers player and having created the Crystal Optimizer mod, she still took hours even with help from Tealball the Bird. How are we supposed to believe that? And honestly, I don't have an answer for that because it really doesn't add up. But here's the part that makes it even worse, and this one genuinely had me like, bro, what? Malo's own response video actually admits that the stalling was deliberate. Like, she openly states she was trolling him by appearing as if she was still incapable of setting up a game. She admitted it herself. And then in the same video, she's also trying to blame vexaay for being angry about the stalling. So she's simultaneously admitting the stalling was intentional from the start and acting like his frustration about it was unreasonable. And not gonna lie dude, you really cannot make this stuff up. And then let me tell you about the craziest part. Marlow claiming in the response video that she was hesitant to play on Mindman Club because she was scared that vexaay's rank tag could somehow be used to fabricate anti-cheat logs against her. And vexaay's response to this is just perfect. He says, I had a helper rank that has absolutely no permissions except a prefix, and you just report things. Like, a helper rank has no admin access, no anti-cheat control, nothing. But okay, even setting that aside, here's where the whole thing completely falls apart. Marlow is claiming she was so scared of being falsely flagged as a cheater by Mindman Club systems that she didn't want to play seriously. and then on that exact same server in that exact same session, she deliberately simulated using triggerbot. Like she set an attack keybind to a keyboard key and pressed it whenever a player walked in front of her to fake the behavior of a cheat module. And vexaay just says, how can you on one hand be scared that they are gonna fake anti-cheat logs and then on the other hand pretend to have triggerbot? And dude, I had to pause the video at that point, not because I had an idea, but because I had to pee. And not gonna lie, the wasted time thing is also something vexaay corrects, because Marlow kind of framed this whole situation as just being between her and vexaay. But he points out that the people whose time got wasted extended way beyond just him, like Swight was there, Floatives was there, Intel Edits was there, Tealball the Bird was there acting as the middleman holding the $350 wager that vexaay had already sent before any of this started. All of these people sat through hours of deliberate stalling, and vexaay had already committed the money before it even began. So this wasn't just a personal dispute between two people, there were multiple people directly affected, and that's a really important thing that Marlow's framing completely glossed over. But dude, then there's the healing situation, because Marlow's video described vexaay getting healed mid-fight and used that to justify her 0-20 loss. And vexaay comes back with actual clip evidence from a player named Jonah, who went through Marlow's own footage frame by frame and showed clearly that both players were healed at the same time, not just vexaay. Like you can literally see both players at full health at the same moment in her own footage. And then the reason for the healing is explained, and it's actually fascinating. The Mindman Club owner was already suspicious that Malo was simulating triggerbot. The teleporting around the area was a deliberate test to check a reaction time to teleportation events and verify whether automated attack software was triggering on the targets. It was an active investigation happening in real time. And on the 0-20 scoreline, vexaay just says flat out, the 0-20 score is clearly a joke, and he literally challenges anyone to find proof of him parading it around and says he'll give up money to whoever can. Like he genuinely does not care about that score because it happened during a session when Malo was sitting around playing pretend triggerbot. And now let me tell you about the Discord screenshots, because this is honestly the most insane part of the entire video, and when I saw this stuff, I was completely shocked. So vexaay presents verified Discord screenshots that were confirmed by PvP Ranked. And dude, these screenshots are insane, because they show Danger Mario and another person actually discussing what to call the account. Like they consider the name Marlow Star, and then within 1 hour of that conversation, the name Marlow is adopted and the account comes into existence. That's a timestamped record of the Marlow persona being invented in real time. And not gonna lie, that is such a specific and verifiable thing that it's really hard to just explain away. But without Danger Mario, we wouldn't have ever heard It's Through Me Meow, so technically Marlow did contribute to the community. But it gets even wilder, because within those same conversations, Danger Mario explicitly discusses cheating and staging clips using cheats. And there are also screenshots showing Danger Mario discussing setting up ranks and server infrastructure for PvP Club, which directly contradicts Marlow's denial of owning PvP Club in her response video. And one screenshot is especially pointed because Danger Mario literally writes, "I just don't want them to see my name on the PayPal," in the context of hiding his financial connection to the server. And then there's a screenshot showing Danger Mario writing that Malo will not be revealed for a while, preferably never, which confirms the intent from the very beginning was to keep the false identity going forever. And also dude, when you see all of that together, it's genuinely hard to know what to say. And then there's also the Rasplin situation, which vexaay highlights as a really specific example of Marlow's character. So in her response video, Marlow actually gives a shout out to Rasplin, describing him as the first person to catch on that she was staging her montages. And that sounds fine on its own until vexaay points out that Marlow had previously publicly gone after Rasplin and spoken horribly about him when he was trying to raise those exact concerns. Like she dismissed him and discredited him when it was convenient. and then once the admission became unavoidable, she turned around and publicly praised him as perceptive and correct. And vexaay's summary is just, I think it's clear that Malo gets the award for #1 gaslighter and manipulator. And honestly, it's hard to argue with that when you see the pattern laid out like that. And dude, the financial picture vexaay paints at the end is honestly what ties the whole thing together. Because PvP Club generates upwards of $50,000 per month. Like that is not a small number, and the entire Marlow operation, the persona, the cheating, the competitive rankings, the YouTube channel, the community manipulation, all of it was the engine that drove players to PvP Club and kept them there. Every person who bought rank on that server because Malo was the best player in PvP Club, was the best server, was generating revenue that was built entirely on fabricated competitive legitimacy. And vexaay even points out that Marlow's response video, which got 1 million views within a day, kept generating money even through the exposure. Bad publicity is still publicity, and also that reframes the entire situation in such a specific way because it stops being about drama and starts being about just farming profit off of the situation. Like, who would even do that, bro? I've never even heard of the word profit. I can't imagine how terrible it is to farm a situation. Anyways, that's the end of this video. Subscribe and goodbye!